Now, when it comes to my personal feelings on guns, I talk about it a lot. I think about it a lot. I think it's a huge problem. I hate guns so much. Folks, I can't even express to you how much I hate guns. I hate them. I hate them
so much. Flames on the side of my face, heaving breaths.
Now, I'm also fully aware that that is my personal feeling, my personal opinion. There are many people who disagree. A lot of people love guns. A lot of people think guns had nothing to do with it. That's fine, to each his own. But my heart is broken for these parents that have lost their children, these families that have lost their loved ones, and these people, namely these little children, who have had their lives taken from them before they could even really begin. And, this is the 16th mass shooting that has happened this year alone. The 16th.
What?
Oh, I know, I had a hard time believing it myself, but it's true. And that got me to thinking, holy crap, if this has happened 16 times in this year alone, how many times has it happened in the past, 25 years? And I wanted to find out. You see, I'm 25 years old, just barely, but I am 25 years old, and so I got to thinking, how many times has something like this happened since I've been alive? Now, it's important to note that shootings happen every single day here in America. In fact, somewhere around 80 to 85 people die every single day from gunshot wounds. But it's these mass shootings, these real large-scale tragedies in which a lot of people die at once. Those are the things you hear about most often. And I can't help but notice that as I've grown up, I feel like they're happening more and more frequently. I spoke to my mother about this, and she agreed. You see, when she was growing up, she almost never heard about these mass shootings. And believe it or not, people who live in other countries, they still don't hear about mass shootings like this because they don't happen very often. But all that aside, I wanted to find out why I have been feeling so sad lately. 16 mass shootings in 1 year alone? I don't know about you, but to me that seems like an awful lot of tragedy for one nation to endure in 1 year's time. Surely this was just a fluke, wasn't it? Well, let's find out. With the help of one of my favorite pundits, Miss Rachel Maddow, we've compiled a list of some of the most notable, some of the biggest scale shootings that have taken place since I've been born. Please keep in mind that this is certainly not all the shootings that have taken place, just the really big ones, the ones that have taken place on a grand scale. Rachel's going to start, and I will take over eventually. I believe the first one took place when I was about 3 years old. Was I 3 years old, Rachel? I think I was about 3 years old.
When he was 3 years old, a 35-year-old man barreled his pickup truck through the window of a Luby's fast food restaurant in Killeen, Texas. He opened fire on a crowd of people who were eating lunch there, and when it was over, he had shot and killed 23 people and wounded 20 others. A year and a half later, 55-year-old businessman in San Francisco walked into an office building at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, took the elevator up to the 34th floor, and shot and killed 8 people working at a law office before turning the gun on himself. 4.5 years after that, 2 young boys armed with guns, an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. They shot and killed 4 girls and a teacher and wounded 10 others at their own middle school in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The spring after that, in Littleton, Colorado, 2 students at Columbine High School shot and killed 12 of their classmates, 1 of their teachers, and wounded 26 others before killing themselves in the school's library. 3 months later, a 44-year-old Georgia day trader went to the offices of 2 separate day trading firms in Atlanta. Armed with 2 guns, he opened fire inside. 9 people were shot and killed before the gunman later shot himself. A few years later, in March 2005, a 44-year-old man walked into a church service in Brookfield, Wisconsin, brandishing a 9mm handgun. The man shot and killed the minister and 6 other people before killing himself. Just 9 days after that, a 16-year-old boy in nearby Red Lake, Minnesota, shot and killed his grandfather and his grandfather's girlfriend. Then he walked to the local high school where he shot and killed 5 students and a teacher and a security guard, 9 dead in all. 10 months after that, 10 months later, a former U.S. postal worker in California walks into the mail processing plant that she used to work at. Armed only with a pistol, she shot and killed 7 employees and then turned the gun on herself. 9 months after that, a 32-year-old man shot and killed 5 school-age girls at an Amish school in rural Pennsylvania. Then he killed himself. 4 months later, an 18-year-old in Salt Lake City, Utah, walks into a local mall, opens fire, killing 5 and wounding 4 others before he was shot and killed by police. 9 weeks after that, it was a normal start to a weekday at Virginia Tech when a 23-year-old mentally disturbed Virginia Tech student roamed the campus, killing 32 people and then himself, the single deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. 8 months after that, a 19-year-old walks into a shopping mall in Omaha, Nebraska. He shoots and kills 8 people and wounds 4 others in the span of 6 minutes before killing himself. 2 months after that, another U.S. college campus, Northern Illinois University. A former student walks into a lecture hall there, opens fire, 5 students shot and killed, 18 others wounded. A year later, the scene was an immigrant community center in upstate New York. A 41-year-old man shoots and kills 11 people attending the center, plus 2 of the center's employees, before then killing himself. 7 months after that, an Army psychiatrist walks onto an Army base in Fort Hood, Texas. 13 people shot and killed, 30 others wounded. And then in Tucson, Arizona, a 22-year-old man allegedly shot and killed 16 people, including a federal judge, wounded 14 others, including a U.S. congresswoman who was apparently the target of his attack.
That was on January 8th, 2011. A year and a half later, almost exactly, came Aurora, a midnight showing of the premiere of The Dark Knight Rises, the 3rd installment of the Christopher Nolan Batman series. A 24-year-old student came to the theater with semi-automatic weapons and opened fire in the theater, ended with 12 dead, 59 injured. 17 days later, a Sikh temple in Wisconsin was invaded by a white supremacist who opened fire, ended with 7 dead, 4 injured. Then, 9 days later, 9 days after that, there was a shooting near Texas A&M University, oh good, another college, ended with 3 dead, 2 injured. 11 days later, 11 days after that, there was a shooting at the Empire State Building right here in New York City. It ended with 2 people dead, 9 wounded. 6 days later, there was a shooting at a supermarket in New Jersey right across the river, ended with 3 people dead. 49 days after that, there was a shooting that took place in a salon in Florida. 3 people dead, 1 injured. 19 days after that, there was a shooting at a meat processing plant in Fresno, California, the day after the presidential election, ended with 3 people dead. 34 days after that, 34 days later, a gunman opened fire at an Oregon shopping mall, ended with 3 dead. And then came last week. 3 days after that shopping mall shooting, that leads us to last Friday, when a gunman opened fire at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut, killing 28 people, 20 of them small children.
After the horrible familiarity of yet another American gun massacre, the reaction to it was also horribly familiar.
It's an unbelievable tragedy experienced today, one of which, of course, in our worst nightmares, we would never could have imagined would have taken place.
This unimaginable tragedy that we've been covering since first word of it arrived on Monday.
I can't believe it happened.
This crime unimaginable.
It is hard for anybody to find the words to express the horror and the grief and the anger that are the only rational responses to massacres like this. But the one thing that events like this are not in America now is inconceivable or unimaginable.
And that is precisely why when I learned of this latest tragedy, this horrible massacre that happened in Connecticut, more so than devastation, more so than the heartbreak that set in soon after, my initial response was anger. Really strong anger. I was angry precisely because what Rachel said. At this point, these massacres are anything but unimaginable. One had happened 3 months ago, and another one happened days before that. I mean, unimaginable? 268 people are shot with a gun here in America every single day. Every single day.
The list of mass shootings, this is a partial list.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Keep in mind, folks, everything we just listed, those are things that have happened in my lifetime.